Just 2 nights to go until the cars roll out in Speedway, Indiana for the 2020 Open Wheels 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions. But before we get to the main event, it's time to have some fun. Tonight we set the grid for the first event in tomorrow's day before the 500 festivities, the Veterans 100, featuring the last generation Dallara DW12 chassis with both a power and weight penalty and a setup that is engineered for close racing. Tomorrow, the drivers will hit the track for just 1/5 of the distance they will travel on Sunday, with 40 laps on the docket and 1 mandatory pit stop. Cars are about to roll out onto the track to kick off a 2-hour window for the cars to set times, and instead of the traditional 4-lap average, tonight it's all about the 2 laps. Hello and welcome to RaceSpotTV for tonight's coverage of the Open Wheels Veterans 100 qualifying. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, and I am joined for today's coverage by Jonathan Burke. And Jonathan, excited to be here as we get ready for a full weekend of racing action live on RaceSpotTV, but it's all about building up then to the 500 miles of racing that are going to be live on Sunday.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be one of the key events, and like tomorrow, and you're mentioning it beforehand, it's going to get crazy. You're talking about the old DW12, and that pack racing was already hectic. Fault setup, never mind with the weight penalty and adjustments. So we're going to see how this goes. This is going to be entertaining for sure.
And as you can see from right behind me, I'm trying to get into the spirit here. I'm in the virtual Speedway, Indiana. We obviously couldn't travel. Cars and fans couldn't be really in attendance at this year's Indy 500, Jonathan, but we're all out in force for this year's Open Wheels 500, and just a few days away, one of the strongest fields, and you were part of the qualifying coverage last weekend. All of us at RaceSpot just cannot wait for this event to get underway, and you know, tomorrow should be a really great way to celebrate this event being back for a second year again.
It's a good way to celebrate, a good way to, you know, get into the spirit of things, a good way to just keep trucking on with racing. I know IndyCar and NASCAR seasons are both over, but this should be an entertaining and fun one to watch. I was excited with qualifying, just how close the field was for the Open Wheels 500 and how like minuscule margins it was on the bump. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see. And there's a lot of good storylines as well.
Lots of storylines, including the return of the back-to-back iRacing Indy 500 champion, Brandon Trainer, who's unfortunately not going to be in the field for this weekend's race. He will be the pace car driver, though, so at least going to be part of the action. You can see live pictures of the track just a few moments away from cars rolling out onto track. Jonathan, this is going to work very similarly to the qualifying this past weekend. Drivers request their runs. They get a maximum of 2 runs this time in the 2-hour window. But instead of 4-lap averages, it's about the 2-lap average. And without a warm-up lap this time around, I'm expecting drivers to be heading out of the pit lane as fast as possible, trying to get up to speed for that first lap.
Very anxious coming out of 2, going on to the actual racetrack itself. If someone maybe bins it out of that corner, it's a really easy place to bin it right out of the pit lane if you're trying to get as much speed as possible. But again, we have a weight penalty, and it should be interesting to see like how these cars kind of behave with the newer tire model and stuff, if that 2-lap average is good or if there's going to be a drop-off after that first lap.
And I guess we'll have to wait and see. But first driver then is out on track, rolling out for the first lap, and it's Matt Hollabaugh in the 02 All-Americans iRacers Dallara DW12 with Gonzalez Motorsports, heading down into turn number 3 then to start off the first of our qualifying runs for the Veterans 100. Let's jump on board then and see how it's going. The first thing you can notice, Jonathan, if we can put a speed graphic up there, is compared to speeds, well, this past weekend, they're struggling to hit 200 miles an hour with all the various modifications done to the car as we cross the start-finish line for the first time. Just trying to shorten the distance as much as possible. You see Matt's just trying to stick all the way to the left-hand side as much as possible here.
Yeah, it's like a weird hybrid between the PM18 and the current IndyCar that we have now. So it's definitely interesting, and they're going to be struggling to hit those speeds. So this lap is going to be all about being really, really consistent and smooth in the corners and how much straight line speed you can generate.
So through the short chute then, a bizarre sight, I think, going almost 50 kilometers an hour slower than speeds this past weekend in qualifying. But Matt's going to finish then. What will be
It's just not even up close to the wall, too. Like, he's all the way on the inside. It is a little bizarre.
It really is. A first lap across the line, then 46.041. And again, it's a 2-lap average. So we'll wait and see what the various trends are going to be. Just like we did for last weekend, we do have qualifying graphics up for you. We'll get to see those averages. Matt obviously has a team name so long that it's got to conflict with the graphic. And, well, across the back straight, he's going then down into turn number 3. Still going a bit slower than we expect. But this is the benchmark time then, Jonathan. The time that everyone's going to be trying to beat them for the rest of the 1 hour and 46 minutes left on the clock.
This is going to be a good learning session, too, for everyone, just to kind of see, you know, you're the first one out. It's like the first one presenting when you're in, like, a group project class. This is going to be the benchmark. Like, where do you fit among this group? And right now, an average of 46.1, almost a half a second faster on lap 2. So it looks like there's not significant fall-off, but that fuel burn is definitely helpful.
Yeah, and Matt's going to then reset to the pit lane. Obviously, it's hard to tell what the lap times are going to be when you've only seen one car out on track. And again, this is a fixed setup, so all of the drivers have the same exact car underneath them that they're going to be trying to make the most time out of possible. Matt down onto the pit road. Then who's going to be next? I'm trying to figure it out, but there's a long queue of cars waiting to go. And it looks like it's going to be the number 30, Jameel Hawkins, who's going to be next. Hollabaugh did make the field of 33. You'll be able to watch him in this weekend's Open Wheels 500-mile race. But you were mentioning, Jonathan, this is an opportunity for some of the other teams potentially to get out on track, and even if they're not racing on Sunday, it's an opportunity to maybe be part of the broadcast both today and tomorrow, and also just to be part of the weekend as well.
Yeah, we mentioned in qualifying that there was over 100 entries, and only 33 made it, so there's a couple guys on the outside looking in, maybe just want to run for fun, and this is, again, more of like the little bit of a fun part of the weekend. This is before the big event. This kind of gets everyone in the mood, gets everyone excited, so... And doing both, I think, is very, very helpful because Jameel will have a very good experience in the draft. Obviously, a very, very different car, but we'll have good experience in the draft. It's kind of like a warm-up race, if anything.
It is, and you know, tomorrow it's going to be fun as well with a pit stop competition that we'll mention we'll talk about more within the next hour and 44 minutes, Jonathan, but that's going to be run in the Dallara IR18 as well. So an opportunity for some of these drivers to practice getting onto the pit lane and also off, because, you know, in the green flag stops, you really want to minimize the time you lose compared to your competitors. So when you have that opportunity, as it were, to practice coming down onto the pit lane and indeed getting back up to speed, that's going to be something that's going to be valuable as well.
I think the really key to these pit stops, and almost no matter what car you run here, is out of turn 4, slowing down enough to get onto the pit lane. I think that's the biggest key. I think coming out of the pit lane, it's a bit more generous than a lot of places you see on iRacing or even in the world. Right here, just the peel down, that's going to be huge. In the Open Wheels 500 pit stop competition and during the mandatory pit stop that these cars will take tomorrow during the Veterans 100.
And again, going to be no cautions tomorrow in the race. Instead, we'll have a competition caution, as it were. We ride on board with Jamil Hawkins. Through turn number 2 he goes. First lap was a 46.251, so fairly similar to Hollabo in terms of the lap 1 pace. What's lap 2 going to be? There you can see. Just wait for the graphic to update. There it goes, 46.251. But Jonathan, I think this is ultimately just about scrubbing the least speed that you can. That's what we're seeing out of the drivers, trying to be very careful on the inputs as Hawkins works his way then through turn number 4.
It's all about being smooth and consistent. You know, just trying to be as calm with the wheel as possible. If you have a little understeer, oversteer, just don't overcorrect. And I think it's going to be a key in the race 2 tomorrow. There we see. Well, that does not seem right at all. That's wrong. There we go.
Well, there we go. Graphic updates. Not a 26-second lap time. 46.12.
That would have been impressive.
That would have been very impressive. And there you see Jamil Hawkins second in the session in terms of the 1-lap pace, and also second on the board then in terms of qualifying. He will be slowing down and heading down onto the pit lane. We'll see who's going to be out next in just a few moments' time, but it's good to see the Dallara DW12 chassis back out there, Jonathan. It's a unique car, and I do like the shape of it. I do like the IR18 a little bit more, but the DW12, especially when we'll see some of these cars that have actual paint schemes applied to them, it is a very good-looking car.
Yeah, I liked it when it was first implemented in the real world as well. It is a very sleek, good design. It's just later on, especially in the real world, and you probably made note of this as well, like all those little winglets and stuff they added, like that I wasn't really a fan of. Like this is a good, sleek, race car-like design, and I think a few people, I don't know if there's some confusion over who's going out next or just some people being on the pit road, but it's a good design, and like the paints, again, are really cool. Even just the generic ones, like they've fit these cars really well. As we see another Taker out on track, looks like the 19, just a default red Logitech paint, but you know, it's still a sleek design.
It is indeed, and you see those blue side wings as well, blue mirrors, blue highlights in general. Reminder, live timing and scoring is available. Not going to be the most useful in terms of keeping up to date with the qualifying times, but you'll be able to follow who's out on track and what lap times they're all setting. You can go through and look at the history of lap times as well, and it is the number 19, Craig Hawkins for Mid-Atlantic Sim Sports, who winds it up for his first lap in qualifying. Across the stripe he goes. 2 laps begins now, and Hawkins looks to try and displace Matt Hollabo and Jamil Hawkins. We're increasing the number of cars registered for this session now, Jonathan. This is just, you know, the preliminary action that we're going to see tomorrow, but already looking at, like, we might have a field of upwards of 20 cars this year, which might produce for some really fun racing in a pack.
It's going to be almost like, kind of like Daytona with a fixed NASCAR setup. Like, everyone's going to be kind of in a little group going around the corners. It's going to be interesting to see in race conditions, too, if these drivers can make, like, the high line work, because they're not really getting close to the wall. Hawkins has been the closest one out there. But they're staying very, very close to the inside, and it's going to be all about, I think, protecting any draft or any advantage you have. So who's ever going to be leading is just a sitting duck. There's no good way to put that. You do not want to be leading, I don't think, in this race.
You definitely don't. So Hawkins' first lap then, a 46.332. So not the best lap number 1. We'll wait and see what the remaining lap is going to look like, Jonathan, but I think it's honestly that first lap is the trick is going to be getting off the pit lane as smoothly as possible, because you start building up your speed the second you hit that pit lane limiter button and, you know, get off that limiter. It's all about getting up to speed. And one thing that you can do here that maybe some drivers are going to take advantage more than others is Hawkins is going to work across the line for lap number 2. What's the time going to be? 46.257. So again, going to drop down to third, I do believe. But the important thing, going back to my point, Jonathan, is you can use all of the track here in between turn number 1 and 2 coming up the pit lane. So some drivers are going to be wise to that fact and might take advantage, use all of the track, and others might not realize that. And I think that's something we're going to see then throughout some of the rest of the qualifiers.
Yeah, it's going to be just kind of picking out how you wind it up for a lap. It's like, you know, thinking about how you're going to hit a baseball. You're thinking about how you're going to wind up and nail that home run out of the park. What angle do you do? When do you swing? It's going to be what angle do you take on the way out? How much power do you put down? How careful are you? So it's really going to be a guessing game to kind of see where we are. We've only had 3 qualifiers so far. It's kind of, again, still a little hard to gauge. But Hawken was the one furthest out to the wall and also one of the slower ones of the 3. So I'm thinking you have to be really, really close to that inside almost all the time through the short chute and the corners.
So who's going to be out on track next? It's going to be Chad Simpson in the VRS Satellite Racing car. One of the cars that does have a livery out there. And there you can see it's a very sharp looking livery indeed. We were talking about some of these custom schemes coming onto the car to make it look that much better. Simpson is part of the field. He'll be starting next to his teammate Adam Crane in the traditional 3-wide start on Sunday. And Jonathan, that's going to be something that's useful. It's not that you necessarily are going to be doing stuff with your teammate that will make things easier, but especially at the start when 3-wide, it might be a little bit crazy diving into turn 1. It's nice to have your teammate on the outside, someone that you can trust, and someone who's not going to maybe force the issue on lap number 1 of a 500-mile race.
Yeah, but Talon also has 10 cars in the field too, and they're all teammates, and they're all going to be near each other. And I don't know how trustworthy they're going to be towards the end of the race. But again, yeah, at the start, it's going to be, I think, a little bit easier, especially for Chad Simpson and his teammate, knowing that, hey, I can trust you. There's not going to be any sort of shenanigans going on. And I think everyone is going to be relatively experienced at the start to know this is a 500-mile race. Let's not get too crazy. You know, the 3-wide start, it's a little bit daunting. Some people get a little butterflies in their stomach. However, I think it'll be okay. I think it's going to go well. And I think, being near a teammate is also going to be helpful early on, say for a drafting partner, saving fuel, trying to extend the runs.
Yeah, one thing I'm already hearing is drivers who are burning fuel in pit lane trying to get an advantage on the rest of the field. We'll see if that proves to be something. Drivers maybe spluttering across the line on this fixed setup. But Simpson then first lap around 46.022. That is trending pretty positively. If I'm remembering correctly, Jonathan, that might be the fastest lap number 1 we've seen so far.
Yeah, no one has gotten in the 45s on lap 1. Everyone's kind of been 46.2, 46.3, and Chad Simpson so far putting on a show. He's already ranked 2, which I think that's wrong. But he's already had the second fastest lap, and he's only on the first lap, so I'm going to see him cross the line now. Wheels pretty straight. This should be really fast.
Pretty fast indeed. 45.974.
I think that's the first average. That's the first sub 46 average I think we have. I think he's Satellite Racing 42 is fast.
Well, give us then just 2 seconds while Race Control updates our qualifying graphic. We can finally bring that up on screen as cars start to head out there and set times. There you can go. There you can see rather Chad Simpson. You were right, Jonathan. 45.974. The first driver breaking into the 45-second region of times. Matt was so very close, just 1,000th of a second off. He will have another run if he wants to attempt it. Doesn't look like cars are going to be required to do 2 runs here, Jonathan, given the field size, but it's all about starting position, and given how crazy the setup has produced some racing, rather, that is going to be so close and so crazy that track position could prove to be fairly important as Simpson's going to make his way down pit lane and we wait for the next car to head out on track.
Especially when there's only that mandatory caution halfway through on lap 20 that there's going to be no cautions if there's any accidents. So I think you want to be towards the front. You want to avoid trouble and not get any accidents early on. So I'm thinking we might see everyone make a second run just to try and improve their lap time.
So out goes Fabio Viana then, rolling out onto the track. We saw him make a few runs at the very end of Bump Day on Sundays. He tried to lock himself into the field. He's recently joined up with his fellow Brazilians. He was working with Wilson Neto and Marco Brazil. But here we go, down the back straightaway. 25 minutes into qualifying, so still a while to go. Lots of drivers still going to head out there and set times, including a lot of your competitors this coming weekend in the Open Wheels 500-mile race. Viana then out of turn number 4, about to set up for his first flying lap on the run.
Yeah, he had a very good, valiant effort on Bump Day for qualifying, but just not be. He crashed as well out of turn 1. It was actually a really, really bad accident. Just scraped the wall and hit the inside, ruined his lap time. But hopefully, he can have a little bit of a good showing here in the Veterans 100, kind of show that, you know, hey, I can still race. I can still be a top competitor.
So what speed is he doing now? Just under 200 miles an hour as he dives into turn number 3 for the first time then on a timed run. Number 63 through the short chute, coming out of turn 4 to set his first flying lap in Veterans 100 qualifying. Take a look at the speed, 315 as he exits the corner. So definitely down on power. And as we jump on board again, I wanted to see that because this is something we saw during the full Open Wheels 500-mile race qualifying sessions, Jonathan, but some teams choosing to run it in 5th, others choosing to run it in 6th. But here we are with a fixed setup. Viana, one of the few drivers running this car in 5th gear right now.
I think the key is going to be the fuel consumption. I think what he's trying to do is consume as much fuel as possible, be as light as possible for that second lap. And I think that's probably the smartest way to go, especially in these cars where you have the weight penalty and you have a little bit lower top speed. Again, it's like a Pro Mazda mixed with the current IR18 that we have right now. So first lap 46.0, pretty good, pretty fast. And maybe he went faster. I'm hoping he went faster.
So lap number 2, I can confirm a 45.962. So he's going to slot himself into 3rd place then. Still waiting for our first sub 45 second lap time to come in, as Viana becomes one of the first drivers not to make his way back down onto the lane. But who's going to be up next? It's a long queue of cars awaiting the opportunity to head out on track. It might be AJ Burton up next, but just wait and see as Tanner Watkins waits to release the next car onto track. While we do that, just a reminder, you can follow us for more sim racing action across our YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at RaceSpotTV. All RaceSpotTV broadcasts have migrated back to our own channels as of this past week, and watch the Open Wheels 500-mile race as well live on RaceSpotTV. As Rob Powers then heads out onto the track for Team Talent with Kinetic Racing. He's going to be the first alternate for this weekend's race, so hoping that unfortunate events maybe transpire for some of our competitors. Those who watched last year's race will remember Dylan Freckleton, who had an unfortunate technical issue even before the green flag. Of course, Andrew Wood, who was in Rob Powers' same position last time around, did end up in the field of 33 cars. So it can always happen for the Team Talent with Kinetic Racing driver. Might bump up the number of Team Talent entries in the field to an incredible 11. Almost 1/3 of the field. Jonathan, you were mentioning that earlier. But it's not just Team Talent that has a lot of drivers in the field as Rob Powers crosses the line then to start his qualifying run. It's also the likes of the i5Gs, the Powerslide Motorsports. You've also got a few of the brand new Three Crowns racing machines in there as well. There's a lot of concerted team efforts here in the Open Wheels 500-mile race.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with tactics and with setup, like how certain teams do things and how teams behave. Are people just going to kind of be on their own for strategy and stuff? Or our team's going to have kind of like a set game plan to go to. It is going to be really interesting to see as the race develops. Is it going to turn out to be something that we see on the NASCAR side of things, the restrictor plate tracks, like all the Chevys working together, so all of Team Talent working together, and all of one team working together? Or is it going to be, look, we all want to win on our own, and there's going to be a variance in strategy?
Well, we're about to find out in just a few time. Lap number 1 for Powers, by the way, 46.058. So just 4 thousandths of a second slower than we just saw a few moments ago from Viana. There you can see the average. We'll wait for lap number 2 to come up on the board. 6th qualifier for tomorrow's Veterans 100. You can catch the action live on RaceSpotTV at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Pit stop competition to follow at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. You can catch myself, Arjuna Kankipati, and Jonathan Burke on the call. But Powers across the line then, 45.959. So where is that going to put the Kinetic driver? 46.009. So he's going to slot himself then into 4th place. Look at those times though, Jonathan. 2nd through 4th, not even separated by a 1/10 of a second right now. And we're waiting for more of these times to start coming in.
So I've noticed 2 things, and it seems to be split 50-50. Either you have, your 2 laps are very, very consistent near each other, like a 46.0 and then a 45.9, or your first lap is a little slow, 46.2, and then your second lap's amazing, like a 45.7. And it seems to be 50-50 right now, so I really don't know. And especially, this is a fixed setup, and it's very interesting to see 2 different style lap times as Eric Hodel, with his name and the team, Hodel Esports, the number 90, heads out on track. That's like a Tron-like car. I hope we get underglow in iRacing. That's what I want. Blue underglow on this car.
Well, we had it for NASCAR in the All-Star race, but there you can see the line that I was talking about. Hodel using all of that short shoot in the access road between 1 and 2. Diving into turn 3 then for the number 90, about to start his first attempt here in Veterans 100, qualifying. A long queue of cars still out there. Viana, by the way, interestingly, he's already queued up for another run, despite the fact that heading back out there is going to delete his time. So Viana clearly feeling very confident as Hodel down into turn 1 for the first time as he ride on board. What a great shot this is, but interesting to note already, you can see he's drifting up the track just a little bit more, Jonathan. He's getting a bit closer to that white wall and ultimately just traveling that little bit further, and that might cost him some time.
Yeah, or maybe he's trying to build up as much top speed as possible. I don't know. It's interesting because it is a fixed setup. There's going to be different ways to attack it. You can see it in any fixed series you run. There's a different way to attack it and different lines to do that are equally as effective. So Eric Hodel maybe trying to implement as much as the IR-18's line as possible, be as wide as possible, get out to the wall. But again, we've seen some guys go very far inside as he sets his first lap time and he goes around for lap 2.
And so I have gotten word, both from the YouTube chat and from Tanner Watkins himself, this is a full fuel setup that they are qualifying on right now. So if you hear the sounds of engines burning in the background, that's because competitors sitting there on pit lane trying to burn as much fuel as they can before their runs. But Hodel then down through the short shoot through 3 and 4 for the final time in this run. 46.018 was his first lap around. So what's lap number 2 going to be? Across the stripe he goes, the number 90 car. As you can hear those engines revving in the background. 45.976. So that's going to put him at a 46.029.
Yeah, so not too fast, but again, we have 2 runs, so he's going to be able to make another run at it. Again, I think it was him running wide in the short shoot. I think you got to be as short as possible. Got to stay close to the inside, but not jerk the wheel ridiculous. You got to be smooth.
Who's going to be next out on track then? You can already see them pulling out of their pit stall. The number 29 car, Christopher Mitchison, heads out on track in the Buzzing Hornets car. That is a fun team name. Jonathan, we've seen some fun team names in the Ivra series that we've commentated on in the past. You've got the likes of the Rusty Spatulas. That's a personal favorite. You've got the Pineapple Racing guys. You also have the roaring chicken nuggets. That one might be my favorite, though. Lots of drive-through puns that were made about that one.
Oh, didn't I make a few puns? I didn't make a pun about Rusty Spatulas the last weekend, which I was sad about, but I got a pineapple pun in there, I think, twice. I don't know if we can get a Hornets pun in. I do love the green and the pink. I wish they had a custom paint to put on this car. I'm really interested to see what the team paint would be for this team.
Well, here we go then. Mitchelson about to start his qualifying run. To get a great shot on the right front as he dives below the white line. Another one who's running up a little bit more in between the corners. Once again, down, just trying to pinch into that white line area. What's the speed looking like for Mitchelson? Coming out of the corner, it was about 312 kph. What's it going to be as we dive into turn number 3 then? 317. Top speed. It is holding pretty steady there. Pretty impressive run, Jonathan, so far. 314 through the apex of 4, but able to maintain the momentum through 3 and 4 very handily was the number 29.
You got to be smooth. I think that's all you're gonna have to be. You're gonna have to be smooth, and you're gonna have to be consistent. Now, you know, the 29 is going out all the way to that outside wall in the straightaways, and he's gonna do it in the short shoots, which should go well for Hodel. I'm not so sure it's going to go well for here. It's got a 46.0, so it's fast. It's a fast first lap. But I don't think he's going to be able to improve on the second one.
Really wants to try and break into the 45s like the top 5 runners have done so far in terms of absolute lap time. There you can see that 6th place on the lower third portion of your screen. That means the 1 lap pace in terms of that position. iRacing tracking the 1 lap times. On the left-hand side of your screen, though, you can track the averages as they come in. Mitchelson, 45.980 was lap number 2. Pretty good lap number 2, but still on the outside looking in, and he's going to put himself up into 6th place as things run then. Bumps Craig Hawkins down to 8th as we wait for Craig to reappear on our timing tower. Who's going to be up next? Got a few big names still to go. Joshua Chin in the queue of cars. You got Jason Brophy, Christopher Demerit, AJ Burden, Simon Bryant, Andreas Eek, Brandon Trano, of course, and Brendan Lichtenberg. Jeff Drake, who built the setup, is in queue as well. So a lot of the field that you'll get to watch this coming Sunday, waiting to head out onto track. 80 minutes left in Veterans 100 qualifying then, as we run the Dallara DW12 chassis with a slight power and weight penalty. Out on track next for Sadie Sim Autosport, it is going to be Simon Bryant. And you can already see there, winding his way in towards turn number 3. Another car that has provided us a very, very nice livery. And I would have to think that this is a livery left over from the days of the DW12, when that was the main car in iRacing. But Simon Bryant, who's going to be the only representative of Sadie Sim Autosport in this coming Sunday's race, looks to qualify for the Saturday's race as he crosses the stripe down in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, Sadie had three cars hopeful at bump to try and get in, and unfortunately only one got in, so I think they were really hoping for a better outing. But this is going to be a good, I think, showing for the team if they can show that Brian has good speed here in the Freedom 100, Veterans 100, excuse me, and then the Open Wheel 500. A good showing for Sadie, especially since, you know, they're only going to have one car in the field compared to, again, Team Talent, who has 10.
Well, might have 11. We have to wait and see in terms of the alternates. But here comes Bryant then. He'll complete lap number 1 in the number 22 car. Crosses the yard of bricks. Lap number 1 then, 46.001. That is the best first lap that we've seen so far, and the first driver to trouble the 45-second region mark as Bryant comes through turn number 2. This is going to be a good lap 2, I think, here, Jonathan. The speed is there in the car, and already looking like he's built up a little bit more momentum than the rest of his competitors.
Man, this first lap is already faster than the average for everyone but Chad Simpson, so I think he's going to be in the sub 45 range. We'll see when he comes out of 4. He's been really smooth on that first lap, and second lap looks equally as smooth. No jerking of the wheel, no thing going wrong. And this 22 is going to come across the line and hopefully have a really, really fast lap time.
What's it going to be? 49.910. Fastest 2-lap run and the fastest 1-lap run as well, as you can see. 45.956. So almost 200ths of a second quicker than Chad Simpson was. Bryant for Sadie Sim Autosport. Good run there, Jonathan. And times are starting to wind up just that little bit more now. And you'd have to think that maybe someone like Brandon Traino, Brendan Lichtenberg, for one of the Team i5G cars, wants to head out on track and respond. Who's going to be up in queue next, though? Well, it's funny I mentioned those Team i5G drivers. It is the number 10, Brendan Lichtenberg. That's going to be heading out on track in just a few seconds' time.
And again, we do have 2 runs here. So there'll be a first run and a second run. And when you do run again, as Arjuna, you've mentioned, you do get that first time deleted. So it's going to be towards the end. Like, if you're towards the top, maybe you don't go out again, and maybe you just save it, or try and improve your spot if you think you can. You already mentioned Fabio Viana has already queued back up again. Very confident he can improve, as we have a nice custom liveries car coming on the track, the number 10. That's a nice paint scheme. Very appealing colors.
Yeah, and again, this is another one where the Broken Arrow team have probably had this lying around in their vault. They've got a lot of things in their vault, including some recordings that I would love to get my hands on at some point. They released some of these on their YouTube channel, Jonathan. They've got a great clip of Costantini winning last year's Open Wheels 500-mile race, but I'm sure there's a lot more interesting clips out there in terms of some of the more colorful languages that you might be able to find on the channel.
Sure, we'll be able to find it. We need to have like a race spot like archaeologists to just go digging through YouTube videos and other things just to find all the archived stuff that we need.
Well, if anyone on the i5G team is maybe listening to us in chat, you know where to find me. My DMs are open. Love to go through that historical archive of context. But Lichtenberg then up to speed down the back straightaway to the northern end of the racetrack in his number 10 machine. One of the cars maybe running closer to the left-hand side of the track than the rest of his competitors, but the number 10 for Broken Arrow with i5G and the Apex Racing team works his way through turn number 4. What's this lap number 1 going to be? Simon Bryant has already set the benchmark last time around. Can Lichtenberg be the first to break into the 45-second range? No, 46.053. So he's going to put himself in 8th position in terms of the overall lap time, but we wait now for lap number 2, Jonathan. That's still a good first lap, but compared to Simon Bryant's, not as good.
I found it a bit strange, too, because he's been really, really close to the inside. He hasn't come out a lot, so I'm wondering if he's just cutting it too close, if he's having to scrub off a little speed, trying to take the shortest way around, if he needs to float out a little bit more. You can see the car even getting a little upset as it rides over that like curbing right there. And he's been really close on it, and so, several other cars have been as well. They've been on that curbing as he heads across the line for lap 2.
What's it going to be for Lichtenberg? 45.940. So not the greatest run then for Lichtenberg. 45.997 is the time. So that's going to put him into 3rd. Official race control time is actually a 45.996. So there you can see, still 3rd position, but wow, that is 0.04 of a second slower than Bryant's time. That is a big gulf in terms of qualifying. And again, I think one thing that must be interesting here, Jonathan, is it's not so much about balancing your tire fall off like it is in regular 4-lap qualifying, where lap 4 is often like that rear of the car wants to step out on you at every single opportunity. This is much more about just being smooth and trying not to compromise the momentum that you've built up, much like a super speedway in a NASCAR type of a sense.
And I think just the way you take the line and the way you attack the corners in this car, I think that seems to be the key, because I know like Lynchburg was running as close to the inside as has so far of their 9 qualifiers, and he's qualified 3rd, and some guys that are running way outside. Jamil Hawkins was the furthest out there. Is at the tail end of the field right now in terms of time. It's the number 9 for i5G heads out on the racetrack. So I think it's just managing where you run your line, really.
So Traino heads out onto the track. The tire changer in the NASCAR paddock heads out to the brickyard in his number 9 machine. back-to-back winner in official iRacing Indy 500 competition, becoming the first person to actually win 2 official iRacing broadcasted Indy 500s. Can Traino go back-to-back-to-back this coming month of May in 2021? We'll have to wait and see what other changes come to the iRacing service. Potentially a new tire and damage model to boot, but Traino across the line then for the i5G team, starting his lap number 1. What's it going to be compared to his teammate Brendan Lichtenberg? Traino through the short shoot, very, very close to that left-hand side of the track. He's really trying to minimize the distance he travels. Speed still upwards of 315 kilometers an hour. Traino head down out of 2 in towards turn number 3. I'm starting to get used to this sight now, Jonathan, of these cars going that much slower than we were seeing this past weekend in qualifying. But it's going to be a big, big difference when you compare tomorrow's, even the Veterans 100 with the pit stop competition that we're going to have coverage on as well. Because those cars are going to be a fixed setup, yes, but no power penalty. It's just a, reduced fuel tank capacity. We'll see those cars diving onto pit lane every 5 laps. Those cars still going to be diving into turn number 1 at 220 miles an hour. Traino's first lap, by the way, 46.013. So better than Lichtenberg's, not looking as good as Bryant right now.
I think he's going to come out somewhere in the middle. He's going to come out either second or third from this, but he is really, he's the farthest down I think we've seen. He might as well, be pulling like a Simon Pagenaud, trying to block all the way to the inside of the grass at this point, trying to make this run as short as possible. You'd see like a little bit. My only concern is that little bit of steering input not being as smooth, like that could scrub off a little bit more speed than he wants.
So here we go then, the 2-time Indy 500 winner across the line. He goes. Lap number 2, 45.929. What's that going to do in terms of the average? 45.971. So he goes faster than Simpson. He's going to slot himself into second place as you see him now burning a little bit more fuel. I wonder if Traino's going to now head back down onto the pit lane, Jonathan, and do a second run without topping up on fuel. He'll just come in and take a fresh set of rubber as he continues to burn off the fuel right now.
I'm wondering if that's probably why, Fabio Viana queued up so quickly, is that he's trying to burn off fuel, and maybe this first run was not the pace-setting run. Maybe the first run is the I'm trying to get rid of fuel run. That's why no one's really gone up into 6th that we've seen. Everyone's been in 5th, and never. Yeah, he's this. If you want to waste as much gasoline as possible, ladies and gentlemen, that 9 car is showing you right there.
And his teammate now heads out onto the track. So 3 of the Indy 500 group teammates back to back out on track. Started with Lichtenberg, then it was Traino. And now the Brit, AJ Burton, down through turn number 3. He's going to go. It's great to see all of these i5G cars have paint schemes as Traino continues to go very, very slowly around the track as he burns as much fuel as possible. You want to know how slowly? 50 kilometers an hour as he burns off all the fuel that he can do.
Oh, he has the limiter on. He has the limiter on, I'm pretty sure.
This is fantastic.
This is how you cause climate change.
That is another great pun there. You had some great ones with lawnmowers last time at Phillip Island. We were broadcasting that Ivor race. But there, here we go. AJ Burton down in through turn number 2. Already 11 cars qualified. 12th driver out on track. And still looking like we might have at least 24, maybe even 25 cars setting qualifying times as Burton works his way into turn number 3. Another car sticking all the way to the left-hand side of the track as we jump on board in the short chute between turns 3 and 4. Traino still on the left-hand side of the track, burning all the fuel he can do. But Burton now minimizing the distance he can travel all the way to the inside of the wall. And what's lap number 1 going to be? 46.032. Good first lap there, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think the i5G guys have all kind of been practicing and thinking about how they're doing, because all 3 of them have been really close to the inside and really smooth. Look at how close AJ Burton is. I do want to bet, though, is that number 9 going to come into the pit road first, or is AJ Burton going to finish the second lap before he gets the chance?
Well, Traino is committed to the strategy he's on, but we're about to find out. Traino says on my timing screen doing 96 kilometers an hour, so I don't think that's pit lane speed, but here we go. Burton down out of turn number 4. Traino must be down on the lane this time around. since we haven't seen him yet. Lap number 2, what's it going to be? 45.955. So the average is a 45.994, whereas that's going to put him into 4th place in front of his teammate, Brendan Lichtenberg. Just 0.003 of a second. These margins, Jonathan, are going to be very close, and it's going to be interesting which of these drivers actually decides to use their second lap here, because the queue of cars is getting increasingly long, and well, 70 minutes to go in qualifying here. It's looking like we're going to have action all the way to the gun sounding at the end of this qualifying session.
Well, I think everyone wants to, burn as much fuel as possible. We saw that 9 of Trano down, burning as much fuel as possible, but his teammate does not take that route, just goes directly to the pit lane, as we see the kind of Evan Adams, All-American iRacers, come out onto the track now for his first run. Yeah, I'm wondering if you just burn a lot of fuel, and then for that second run, just take tires, don't get out of the car, don't do anything like that, and maybe you'll have a little bit lighter fuel. You mentioned a full fuel run for qualifying, which is interesting. At first I thought it was going to be a light fuel run, which would, I feel like, make it a bit closer and a bit crazier, but the full fuel run, that's interesting.
So 13th car then out on track, Evan Adams. Is he going to be unlucky number 13 here on Friday, the 13th of November? Across the stripe he goes to start his qualifying run. Down in towards turn number 1. Sweeps the car in from the outside. Down all the way to the inside of the white line.
Yeah, he's taking a wider exit coming out of these corners. And I think we already saw with Craig and Jamil Hawkins that was not really the way to go. Maybe this 59 is going to be a little struggling a little bit on this first lap.
Get a good look here as how much of that car he's really placing below the white line. Oh, he's trying to get all the way to the inside of the curb is Evan Adams. Lap number 1, what's it going to be for the number 59 car then? Across the line he goes. We wait the lap time to come in, 46.079. So not a bad first lap then, but a little bit slower than some of the other laps that we've seen here, Jonathan. What do you think he needs now on lap number 2? I think the goal has to be for some of these guys just to break in to that 45-second region.
Yeah, and don't do what he just did, get out towards the wall and have to kind of dart it away from it. That's going to scrub off a decent amount of speed. So you just have to be, like, again, I mentioned it earlier, like, we had 2 different sets of lap times. We had the first lap, we had the 2 guys that set almost identical lap times, like a 45.9 and a 46.0, and then we had like a 46.2, and then someone set like a 45.7 on their same run. So it'll be interesting to see, like, as the day goes on and how many runs we get as Adams crosses the line. That little moment out of 2, I think, is going to cost him a little bit more than he would like it.
It is. You can already see lap time coming in. It is a 46.028. So he may just have matched what Eric Hodel has done, but let me take a look at the full sheet that Race Control provides to us. Oh, wow. No. Okay, so these guys have actually just gone and matched each other in terms of the average there, Jonathan. And unlike in the Open Wheels 500, where you do have a tiebreaker being, 4 laps of various pace here, I don't think we've got a tiebreaker. Be interesting to see who starts in front of who there. Hodel did the time first, so I would have to assume it's Hodel who's going to maybe start in front if he keeps that run.
But on our timing screen, it's saying Adams is starting ahead of him. So you could probably poke Race Control and ask, but I think if a lot of guys are going to queue up and do second runs, it may not matter, as we see a yellow and green Team Talent number 88 now on the track.
So it's Jason Brophy. He usually rocks up with a slightly different colored car in official iRacing competitions, but his traditional brown color taken by his teammate Andrew Wood. Brophy has switched to a yellow base for his beautiful Dallara IR18 paint that you'll be able to see in action this coming Sunday. But Brophy then through turns 1 and 2, as he's going to be the 14th car out on track, Jonathan.
He was a little bit wide coming out of 1. I don't know if that's going to cost him. I'm wondering if he's trying to take that wide line, burn as much fuel as possible on lap 1, take a smaller line on lap 2 and try and get as much speed on that second lap.
Well, here goes, Brophy. This is a very interesting colored car, and I've been trying to exactly place what it was, and I think Joshua Chin has just helped me do that. It's a duck. That is what this car is. This is a duck right there, wouldn't you say, Jonathan?
Yeah, this looks like an Oregon themed. Like I could see like the University of Oregon college logo on the side of that car.
Ooh, well, yellow and green is clearly the fastest color out there. 45.999. Brophy becomes the first person to crack the 46-second barrier here in qualifying on lap number 1. What will lap number 2 be for the double eight as he comes in towards turn number 3? Good entry speed in excess of 200 miles an hour, carrying some good speed through the apex of the corner, through the middle of the short chute as well. 315 kilometers an hour. His exit speed out of turn number 4. What's going to be the speed as he crosses the line to finish this run? Brophy across the line for a 45.921. So that's going to be an average of a 45.960. Oh, that's so close. Just 5,000th of a second in that, Jonathan. And, you know, maybe he just pushed a little bit too much on lap number 1 there. Losing out a little bit in terms of second lap pace and the momentum there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he was just way too far outside, but he's been the guy to run like the highest line on the track and still be in the 45s. Because we noticed like Trano, Simpson, Burton, Lynchburg, they were all like hugging that bottom, and Brophy was taking a much wider line. So again, there's different ways to attack this lap.
So next car up on track, rather, Tyson Landis in the 31. The team SETI, as you see Brophy in the background of the shot. Heading down out off the track. I'm not sure, by the way, Jonathan, if you were paying much attention, but I must say my mood was a little bit down earlier today because RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson was racing in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge today, and qualifying didn't go great for them. They started back in 7th, and after a heroic drive last time around where they finished in 2nd, in many ways I think should have won that race with a fantastic scrap, with the eventual winner coming all the way to the checkered flag. But this time around didn't even make it to the green flag, Jonathan, because as Landis is going to start his run here, well, unfortunately we know what happens sometimes on multi-class endurance starts, and Maxson in his Hyundai TCR and his teammate he was driving at the time just got caught out as a result of brake checking, and they lost 5 laps before they even got to the green flag. And you know, never how you want to end a season. Tyler now has the next race to look forward to, which will be at the famous Daytona International Speedway in January, but not a good way to head into the winter, no?
No, especially in a crazy year like this is, where you don't get as many opportunities as you want at certain tracks. You know, Sebring is usually a race we'd run earlier in the year, and the conditions were also different too. I didn't get to, unfortunately, watch the Pilot Challenge race. I was in class, unfortunately, but I saw some of the highlights, and it looked like a wet, miserable kind of day down there in Florida. So it was a bit chaotic, but yeah, definitely not how you want to end the year. It's just been a strange year though for a lot of drivers and teams all around. Racing. Some teams have had completely dominant years. We saw in IndyCar, like Scott Dixon at the beginning of the year was just absolutely dominant, but then there's guys like Graham Rahal who were having good years but just had really bad luck. It's just a weird year, and I'll feel for Tyler and pouring out for him a little bit that a start of an endurance race like that's something you don't want to have happen.
Well, Landis finishes his run then. Lap number 1, by the way, is a 46.267. Lap 2, a 46.104. And that's going to be an average for Tyson Landis. That's going to slot him into, as we wait for the time on the left-hand side to update as Tanner Watkins gets to work. There you can see 46.185. A slight issue there as Tanner tries to figure out exactly what the order is in terms of times. Who's going to be next out on track though? Landis finishes his 2-lap run. Still got
and promptly leaves.
And promptly leaves the session, so that's his 1 attempt done. He's not going to head back out there on track. Looks like Demerit is heading back out there. Oh no, sorry. Demerit is making his first run. I'm getting all of these i5G teammates mixed up because we've got so many of them trying to qualify into this race. So Demerit in the 144 out onto track. He'll be rolling off on the outside of the front row this weekend.
I'm glad he didn't take 44. That would be my number if I was running.
Well, that would be a certain F1 Megastars number as well. You might have some competition for that number there, Jonathan.
It's actually kind of funny that like Lewis is not the reason 44 is my favorite number. 44 has been like my number since I was like 4. And unfortunately, if Lewis wants to fight me over it, I think Lewis will win. But I do have different reasons for liking the number as he starts his first lap now going down in the turn 1.
Well, Demerit, what's he going to do? Is he going to try and pip his teammates? Traino, the highest of them right now, in 3rd. Through turn number 2. Yeah. Using a bit more track than some of the others there, Jonathan.
I was going to say, like, he's taking that wider line like Brophy was doing. And, it's going to be a balance of how far up you go. Because we've seen, like, you can be fast and be in the sub-45s running all the way to the inside, but then, I don't know, Jason Brophy just kind of, like, threw a wrench in my brain, basically. Jumbled my entire way of thinking, because he ran that outside line, and he was fast.
He was indeed, but engines continue to rev in the background as competitors burn off fuel. Ooh, lap number 1 from Christopher Demerit, 45.997. That is a very, very rapid first lap, and now we wait and see how he's able to carry this momentum into his 2nd lap, because that's where, of course, the fall-off tends to happen. Once again, broken arrow with Team I5G and the Apex Racing team. A team name too long for our qualifying graphic, but through turn 3 he's going to go. Using all the track once again in the 144 machine. Down to the inside of turn 4, back to the start-finish stripe then to complete 2 laps of qualifying. What's it going to be for Demerit? All the way to the wall and sticking to the wall as well. Across the line he goes, 45.900. So he's going to put himself all the way out front. The question is by how much? There you can see up on your screen, 6 thousandths of a second. So about 100th separating the front row as things stand. There we see confirmation. Christopher Demerit to the top of the timing charts with a 45.949. Very, very impressive run there, Jonathan.
I just want to know what is the difference between what Demerit and Brophy are doing compared to, say, what Holdell and Adams have done, because they've been running on that outside, both of them, and yet there's this couple hundredths difference that Demerit and Brophy have been able to find.
Well, I tell you what, let's ask one of the drivers. Currently sitting in 6th in the standings, AJ Burton. AJ, how's it going, firstly? Talk to us a little bit about qualifying here, and try and answer Jonathan's question there. Why are we seeing these very, very interesting differences between all of the different drivers on a fixed setup?
I think the best way to put it for some of us is we didn't do much preparation. We kind of turned up hoping to be quick instantly out the block and didn't really do any practice simulations. And we're learning from everyone running ahead of us really what the best line is. As you saw with myself and Traino and Brendan, we ran a very tight line and we quickly realised it probably wasn't the quickest way to go. And Chris has adjusted his style. He's run a wider arc and it's paid off and he's gone P1.
Yeah, very good run there. Are you going to head back out on track or 6th place? You happy to start where you are and have a little bit of fun in tomorrow's festivities in the day before the 500?
Well, I've put myself back in line, but there's a lot of cars in the queue, so whether or not we get out again it's questionable, but we've learned that there's a quicker line, so if I can get back out, I'm going to go out and try and get pole.
Talk to us a little bit about the racing. I'm not sure if you've done much practice, but from what some of your fellow competitors have been saying, it's looking like tomorrow's going to be crazy. 4 wide, going to be maybe a regular feature. Talk to us about why everyone should be tuning in tomorrow for the action.
Yeah, I'm fully expecting that. There's very little aero push from this setup. The draft has been always pretty strong in this car. And yeah, lower top speeds in total, so there's going to be a lot of 2, 3, 4 wide in the turns. Definitely on the straight. We'll probably see 5, 6 wide at one point. So it's going to be incredibly entertaining.
And AJ, tell us about some of the prep that you guys are doing for this Sunday's race. 500 miles. Going to be kicking off, and it's a big one. You've got Michele Costantini, who's going to be leading the field to the green flag, trying to defend his title from last year. A lot of pressure on you guys as you try and secure another major 500-mile win.
Yeah, we're going to try our best. We've got a really good car under us, so all things go well, we should be running up front and should hopefully be in the fight for the victory. Obviously, Michele's incredibly quick, Chris is quick, Brendan's quick, Matt's quick. I'm a little bit slower than them, and I'm starting towards the back, which is a bit unfortunate, but hopefully make my way to the front and dice it out with those guys. But obviously, there's quick guys from Team Talent, there's quick guys from Power Slide and everyone else, so it's going to be a great race.
Well, AJ, thanks for joining us. You will be starting, I'm just checking my notes here, you'll be starting back in 18th, so not all the way back in the pack, but definitely in some of the more interesting spots as you work your way down into turn 1.
Oh yeah, for sure, it'll be fun, and I'll have a good time trying to pass cars.
Thanks for joining us,
Hopefully,
AJ.
do not have a good time getting into other cars.
Well, thanks for joining us, AJ. We're going to let you go and bring in your teammate next, Chris Demerit. Because Demerit has just gone top of the timing charts. Chris, how was that run? And must be feeling pretty good now, as you might not even have time to set another qualifying lap here. So a pretty good run there in your one and only attempt, potentially.
Yeah, it was a good run. I had a very different strategy, honestly, but the line is way too long, so I don't actually have the second attempt to back up on. But yeah, just burning fuel and was pretty much it, really. And watching the line from Brian and Brophy helped a lot, because I was planning on pinching a lot more like AJ and Trino did. I think it hurt them.
So Luis Nunez, by the way, just finished run 45.949 is his qualifying run. Talk to us a bit, Demerit, about this racing, because it's been a while since a lot of you guys have jumped back into this DW12 chassis. I'm sure it's got a lot of good memories for you, but racing very differently to how you might remember in the past.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's nice to see the cockpit again. It brings back some nice memories with the very simple LED 8 display dash. But yeah, the race is going to be not very representative of anything like this car before. So it'll definitely be interesting.
And you'll be starting on the outside of the front row this Sunday in a good position. How are you looking to play out 500 miles? Are you looking to be aggressive and work with Michele out front to try and dominate this race, or is it all about being smart and hoping to make sure that you're just at the end come 500 miles later?
I mean, you always have to be at the end to be able to win. That's something I definitely didn't do last year, so that'll be step one. But then after that, it's just being really smart at the beginning of the race, because how the race and what the racing's like is going to change drastically from the beginning to the end. So we have a bit more options at the beginning, and then you really need to dial everything in, your driving, your strategy, everything for the end of the race.
Are you going to be taking part in the pit stop competition as well tomorrow, or are you just focusing on the Veterans 100?
No, I'll be doing the pit stop competition as well. I was planning on doing just that one until I realized that they weren't doing. We're using the DW12 for this Veterans 100 instead of I think they used the Formula Renault 3.5 last year, and I'd much rather drive this. I don't know, in that 3.5.
Well, I think it's.
That would be an interesting. That would be an interesting car to run around here. I think this is a better fit for R&D than 3.5.
Yeah, I know they ran it last year. I don't remember how it went, but this seems to be better.
Well, let's talk a bit about the pit stop competition, because that's going to have heat style racing, 5-lap fuel tanks, a good opportunity for you guys to practice getting both onto and off of pit lane in what should be a very important factor in the 500 miles of racing as well. So this is an opportunity for you guys to compete in one little facet that's just going to be a small factor in the big race on Sunday.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a good time to practice the braking marker. It'll be a little bit different when you're on the end of a race run on really old tires, rather than doing like 2 or 3 laps and pitting. But yeah, it'll be good for nailing that pit marker.
Well, Andrew Marquez for Marquez Motorsports does a 45.995, moves himself in front of the Team i5G driver for Brendan Lichtenberg. Demerit, one more question before we let you go. You're starting on the outside of the front row. It can't get that much better. What are your hopes? We talked to Andrew Wood on last Sunday, and he was very confident. They've got 10 Team Talent cars in the field. They want a win. I know you I5G lot like to be confident as well. I'm sure you guys are equally confident about your chances going into the big race.
Yeah, we're definitely. Well, I won't speak for everyone. I'm definitely confident in our chances as a team. I know those team talent guys have more cars, but I'm we're really happy with our setup that we got going. It worked really well in May, and it's probably going to work really well this year as well, for the Open Wheels 500 at least. Yeah, I think if we're smart, we can pretty much all be at the front. So yeah, obviously it won't always turn out that way. You gotta have the luck of Indy on your side. But yeah, I'm hoping to be at the front towards the end, battling for the win.
Thanks for
I hope I
joining.
didn't curse myself there.
Well, thanks for joining us, Chris, and good luck as you try and win another major 500-mile race.
Thank you.
So that was Christopher Demerit, driver of the 144 Broken Arrow with Team I5G and Apex Racing Team, driving a Dallara IR18 Honda this coming Sunday, starting on the outside of the front row. Aaron Roofs now gets up to speed in the rated gaming Dallara DW12. Great to talk to some of these drivers heading into the weekend, Jonathan, because I think it was clear there. I mean, pit stop competition tomorrow is about having fun, yes, but at the same time, it is a good opportunity to practice that baking point marker, and I think that's something that, from personal experience, I can say it's something that many drivers don't necessarily focus on the most.
Have you ever been in an open NASCAR A-class race? And it's a proven fact that no one practices pit stops, because I've been able to gain 7 to 8 places just because I practice getting onto pit road. So it really is going to be key, I think, as right now Aaron Roof's on the track, and I apologize to Aaron in advance because he was in the Pro Mazda series last week, actually in Interlagos, and I'm pretty sure butchered his name after hearing you say it in the Mardi Gras style rated gaming paint as he goes across the line for his second lap.
Actually, that will be his first time lap, I do believe, so that's a 46.088.
Well, starting his second.
Yes, no, you're right. Starting his second. That is true indeed. And don't worry about butchering names. It's taken me about 8 months at RaceSpot to be able to pronounce the Team Hoisingveld name correctly in a broadcast for all of the entirety. So, we will see. If you're reading in our YouTube chat, by the way, Tanner Watkins from the Open Wheels sanctioning body has just let us know tiebreaker has been applied to timing and scoring to show Luis Nunez in front of Mitchison due to a fastest lap. You can also see a few other match times. Evan Adams, Eric Hodel, Jameel Hawkins, Tyson Landis as Roofs across the stripe he goes. Lap number 2, 45.952. So where's that going to put him then on the board? 46.020. Slots himself up into 12th as we're about to have 20 cars qualified for tomorrow's race. This is a great turnout this year, Jonathan. And again, this is not the main race. This is not where all the eyes are going to be focused on, but good to see a lot of these competitors really embracing the full schedule of events here in the Open Wheels 500.
Yeah, again, it's like the salad bar that you get to when you go to a big buffet place. This is just the opening race that we're seeing, and I think one thing that's going to be interesting for the rest of this run, we have about an hour left or so. Are guys going to be able to get out there and make a second run, and who's going to be like queuing up right away to get it done?
Well, we're running
because we have another one.
Yeah, we're running
on the track right now.
We are running out of time. You are very, very right there, Jonathan. 45 minutes left to go, and we're still looking at about 4 or 5 cars that are yet to set times. And then the rest of the 24 or 25 cars will be ready to head back out for a potential second run. Demerit mentioned that he may not even be out on track once again. So, Demerit, provisional pole position sitter. But here comes another previous winner of a top split iRacing Indy 500. Won the broadcasted race in 2018. The king of chins himself, Joshua Chin, starts a qualifying run for Team Chimera with Team Talent. And you'll see that that's counted as a lap. That's only because his pit stall was so far back that he crossed the stripe as he came through the pit exit. But, ooh, look at that, Jonathan. All the way to the curb there. Yeah, all the way to the curb.
He's just doing a little bit of yard work right there, trimming off the little grass that's growing on the curb. That is dicing. That's a much different line too that he's took compared to some of the other competitors. I'm wondering if he's going to do it on the way out of 4 too. So that's a dangerous place too to be cutting that close. You can easily lose it on the exits of 4 and 2, no matter what car you drive around here.
So lap number 1 about to be in the books for Joshua Chin. 45.998. So another driver breaking in to the 45-second club on lap number 1. Let's jump on board.
He was all over the curb. Like he was about to be in the grass if he wasn't careful.
Interesting line for sure. And Josh is running a paint scheme that I believe his teammate Randy Cheneth was going to run. Randy unfortunately did not make the field of 33 cars for this weekend's race.
I'm still sad about that.
I'm still sad about that as well. I know Randy's a little bit disappointed, but hands over the Madrinas powered DW12 to Chin for this one. One more lap for Joshua Chin. This might be his final attempt, given what the clock situation is. Across the line he goes, 45.887. That is going to put him all the way to the top of the timing sheets. And there you go. Average 45.942 is the official average there. Jonathan, he just, Josh just showed up and blew the rest of the competitors away. You see the difference now between 1st and 10th. We're looking at almost the same gap that we saw between 1st and 20th. In this year's Open Wheels 500-mile race qualifying.
I'm amazed at that line at a 2. It's such a weird angle he comes into 2. And I guess it just had a lot of speed there. And good car control from Joshua Chin to really not screw that up. Because there was a moment there on that first lap where he could have easily hopped that curb and lost it. And not even been able to set a time.
Well, the runs are about to start coming thick and fast, I do believe. Chin trundles his way then onto the pit lane as number 8, Nate Burke, out on track. Reminder, timing and scoring is available. Timing71.org. Head over there to follow along. You can see which drivers are out on track and what the overall lap time standings look like as Burke is going to exit the pit lane, merge back onto the back straightaway and dive his way in towards turn number 3. 42 minutes left on the clock. And confirmation, by the way, as well from Open Wheels and the sanctioning body. That is a new track record at the Veterans 100 from Joshua Chin. The average then of 45.942. I'm pretty sure he must have the one lap qualifying record as well with a 45.887. So Burke now going to start his qualifying run. Jonathan, we're already over 20 cars entered for this one. This is looking to be a very fun race tomorrow. Just 40 laps, but again, smaller field, smaller race. I think it should be fun.
Should be fun, and with that like competition caution like in the middle, no strategy. It's just going to be a pure race to the end. And I think what's going to interest me a lot is that who's going to be able to work up through the field, and maybe if someone is not that good of a qualifier, are they going to be better in race conditions? It's a fixed setup, and I know for some drivers, like I'm not that good qualifying in any car, but I'm much better in race conditions. So maybe some guys are hoping for a better timeout tomorrow than getting the track position today.
Well, I was kind of hoping that we'd be able to see a bit of a preview of the racing action later on in this qualifying session. If all the cars had set qualifying runs and the qualifying queue was empty, track gets open for practice runs to be set. That might have been a bit of a preview for some of the 3 and 4 wide action that we're expecting tomorrow in the day before the 500 festivities, right after the final practice session before the big race. We'll have some fun here live on RaceSpotTV. Burke about to finish his run. 46.179 was the first lap. Lap number 2, 45.968. So that puts him, Jonathan. Let's take a look at the average there. 46.034. So 18th place provisionally and 40 minutes left in qualifying. Depending on how the rest of the field decides to go, Aaron Roos, for example, has just told us in YouTube chat that he's not going to be out on track once again. Burke might still have an opportunity to head back out on track, potentially, and better that last run.
It's going to be a matter of who's in the queue and who isn't, who's thinking about going, who's just about it. It's really just a guessing game right now of who's in the queue and if you can get lucky. Obviously, being one of the last qualifiers out there for your first run kind of sucks because you may be, cut short for your second one.
So next car is out on track, and look there, Fabio Viana builds up the speed. Viana's going to sacrifice then his previous qualifying run.
He was one of the first ones to re-queue as well. So that's telling then of how many people on their second run have already re-queued and already tried. Look at how wide he is trying to warm up these tires, I think, to the fastest they can be.
Also remember, this is his outlap, Jonathan, so opportunity to build up the speed then for the Brazilian as he works his way across the stripe to start his second qualifying run, second and final qualifying run for tomorrow's Open Wheels Veterans 100. On board with the number 63 we go through the short chute, through turns 1 and 2, getting all the way to the inside. Not able to clip that curb like we saw Chin doing a few laps ago, but Viana built up the speed and can have some fun down the back straightaway. We'll have some fun with this on Sunday as well in the official 500-mile race. I did some I went through and added up all the different camera angles that we have, Jonathan, for this track, and we have in excess of 243 cameras to use around the track. Once you then include the 33 cars and the 9 onboard views that we have with every single one of them, that sums up for an incredible 540 unique camera angles that we get to choose from for Sunday's broadcast. That is something that, I mean, if you offered that to a TV executive, I think they'd bite your hand off at that one.
I could hear like a few of TV executives that I've worked with in college so far, like a few professors and stuff, like giving you wide eyes, going like, I have how many angles to work with? You're gonna be hitting all the buttons, trying to find all the good shots, and that's also really, really good. We can cover all the action from the first half of the field to the last half of the field, from first to 33rd, all the way down pit lane. As Fabio looks to finish his second run. The first lap did not seem very promising, but maybe the second lap will help him a little bit.
It did indeed. Lap number 2, a 9.42. So Viana does a 9.94 average.
I don't think he moved.
I think that's going to tie him with Marquez. So, in fact, he's going to go above Marquez. Our qualifying graphics for today not powered directly by race controls, so slight margin of error. He is still going to move himself, though, up into 7th, I believe. As now we wait for the next driver to head out. That's going to be the 42, Chad Simpson, going to sacrifice his 6th spot on the grid and head out on track for another attempt. I'm really enjoying this here, Jonathan. 30 minutes to go. It's that same tension that we had last week. Yes, it's not the same kind of stakes and positions up for grab in next weekend's, or rather this weekend's big race, but nevertheless, great to have this level of anxiety in terms of you only have limited attempts and you better get it right, otherwise that's you done in terms of qualifying.
And I just like the setup. It's a fixed setup, but there's definitely different ways to attack it. Like, you can have that wide line that Dermot and Bryant and Brophy have run, or you could be Chin and decide to do some lawn care work on the inside curbing. So it's just interesting ways to attack it, interesting challenges I think that this car presents, and like the way it's set up, and it's produced a really unique qualifying.
Once again, engines burning in the background. That'll be one of the big storylines to think about in terms of these qualifying times. Simpson then start lap number 1 in that VRS-powered satellite racing machine. Where is he going to be starting in this field, you may wonder, this Sunday? 13th place on the inside of row number 4. His teammate Adam Crane will be next to him on his outside. In the middle of that row, Andrew Wood in the MyLabs Precision Racing League OpenWheels.com Chevrolet, starting on the outside of row number 5. Not 4, sorry. I can't count sometimes. No excuses, though, this time, Jonathan. It's late on a Friday evening. Last time I tried to make an excuse for bad math on RaceSpotTV, it was at least 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning.
Well, that was the last time you made an excuse about math? I thought we made an excuse about math during the Ira Series race. Trying to calculate fuel strategy before pace cars came and ruined that.
Oh, I know. I was making excuses this past Wednesday on the Talking Tents podcast. But there we go. Lap number 1 then in the books for Simpson. What is it going to be? 45.990. So a good lap there.
That's fast. For a first lap, that's fast.
That is a very good first lap. Not as good as Chin's was, we must say that. But wait to see, I think, what lap number 2 is going to be then. The blue and red car.
Some drivers have been getting down into that 45.8s, 45.7s on the second lap. So he puts a lap down like in that range. He may Chin and Durman away and take pole position.
What's it going to be then across the line? Is the number 42 45.878. So that's going to be a fastest one lap record, breaking the lap that Chin just did. What's the average going to be? 45.934. Already updated on the left-hand side of your screen. Simpson to the top of the timing sheets, and almost by a full 100th that time around, Jonathan. Look at that. Look at those gaps that are starting to develop. You can start to see that maybe that fuel burning is going to be a big factor now.
And who can even get a second run? We mentioned we're running out of time, and drivers are going to be antsy down at pit road. It's going to be like waiting in line for a roller coaster. Everyone's going to be like there, poking away, trying to get on.
Well, next, who's going to be rolling out is a driver who hasn't set a run just yet. Jesper Orman in the number 87 for 3 Crowns Racing. And Orman was one of the big shocks coming out of this weekend's, or rather last weekend's qualifying weekends presented by Pit Lane Parlay. The Swedish driver, a rookie in open wheels competition, qualified for the field, and not just qualified up in 12th position, starting on the outside of row number 4 in the indypodden.se/vopsy.com Honda. But right now, trying to make his way into the field for the Veterans 121 cars. Have set qualifying times already, and just 30 minutes to go then until we wrap up 2 hours worth of qualifying. Nice and compressed. Everyone has 2 opportunities to run, and Orman now starts his first flying lap. And this is going to be pressure on him here, Jonathan, because he's only going to have the one chance. I'm looking at the order right now. It looks like there may be another driver with just one chance, and that's going to be Andreas Eek for Team Talent. So looking like it's going to be a field of 23 cars taking to the green flag tomorrow.
Yeah, you mentioned that there was a bit of pressure, but a bit of a shock that he got all the way up into 12th last Sunday for the main event. So maybe he's living with the pressure. Maybe he understands what's at stake here. Trying to set a good time. His line looks really, really clean. He looks really, really smooth. He's getting as close to that curbing as possible. He's now going down this front stretch. You know, maybe he's going to set a good time here. We'll see how lap 1 goes.
So Orman crosses the stripe. First lap of 46.050. So Orman, not a bad lap number 1 by any stretch of imagination, but not trending on the right side of 45.
He's taking that wider line, and I don't know if he's going to be able to find those tenths that Dermot and Bryant were able to find out there. But maybe he's burned enough fuel on this run. Maybe the tires are warm enough on this lap to give him that extra tenth or 2 that he needs.
Orman then out of turn number 4. Going to complete his qualifying run. Taking a look at that queue, no chance the Swede is going to have another opportunity to head back out onto the track. So, what's that run going to be? 46.011 for Orman. That's going to put him up into 13th place, I do believe, once the left-hand side of your screen gets fully updated by race control. Not a bad run for the Swede, but definitely not the run that he would have wanted. So that means that number 87 finishes his first run in qualifying. Next up, going to be the number 30 car, Jamil Hawkins. So Jamil sacrificing his lap that I think had him in 20th spot as things stood. Down onto the pit lane for the Swede then as Hawkins builds up the speed, winds up the Dallara DW12 chassis. And that paint scheme there, Jonathan, is like a tribute to a McLaren of a older generation that runs a sponsor that is no longer allowed to be mentioned on an F1 broadcast.
Yeah, it looks good. Like even like some of these like default paint schemes that you had for the DW12, like they look good, and it's a very stylish looking like model that we have. Again, the real life car, in my opinion, got a little distasteful because we added so many little winglets to it, and we decided that tiny wings gave more downforce. But here he goes on the first lap as camera turns around, we get a rear shot. Hawkins was towards the end of the field, so this is not even a risk for him. This is almost a necessity to get out on the second run. He's taking a much tighter inside line this run than he was the first time.
Let's jump onto the nose cam then. As Hawkins down the back straight. What's the speed as he makes it in towards turn number 3? Can he hit 320 kilometers an hour? Gonna be just shy of the mark. About 318 was terminal velocity as he entered turn number 4 as he entered turn number 3 and now makes his way through turn number 4. Is he going to be able to move himself in front of Tyson Landis on this run? Is Hawking. First lap, 46.152. Not the greatest first lap, but I think a little bit more impressive than last time around. Last time around a 2.50, so a little bit better on this run so far.
And now he's taking a much tighter line, and it looks like he's getting a bit more speed now through turn 2 at least, so this is going to be an improvement. He was way outside in his first run. So maybe trying to find a good balance between ducking to the inside and using that outside. Again, it's been a real key, I think, in this qualifying session, like where you put your car or what line you're taking, and just subtle differences can give you that 10th and 100th that you need.
Here he comes then. Hawking going to complete his second and final qualifying run of the day. What's the lap time going to be? Not able to break into the 45-second barrier, so average this time 46.080. He will move in front of Tyson Landis, but doesn't manage to go in front of Nate Burke. Burke has already left the session. Also confirmation from race control Tanner Watkins. No runs can begin once 5 minutes are left in the session. So that will be the final opportunity for qualifying runs to begin. Who's going to be next out on track then? You can see there the 0-2 of Matt Hollabo starting to roll off the pit lane, and he is indeed going to be the car making our next run. So Hollabo going to sacrifice the 46.001 that currently stands him in 11th place. There you can see time getting deleted.
Well, now he was the first one out. He has almost an hour of 20 minutes of just kind of sitting around, waiting, learning, examining, trying to take notes as much as possible to try and improve this lap time. And maybe that's going to help him. Like, being the first one out was a real test, and now seeing how everyone else did, well, he can really improve.
What is he going to do then as he starts his second and final qualifying run? Weaving, trying to build up momentum down in towards turn number 1. 26 minutes are left on the qualifying clock for the Open Wheels Veterans 100. 22 cars currently have set qualifying times. The potential for 1 or 2 more to get in on the fun. Andreas Eek, Jeff Drake, those 2 cars that potentially might be able to get out on track. Jamil Hawkins, Jesper Orman have already left the session. They know their day is done. They will start where they start. As
Those 2 all the way on the curbs.
And what's this lap number 1 going to be? Can he break into the 45-second barrier? 46.037. Pretty good lap number 1 there, Jonathan. Lap number 2, though, got to be impressive now.
Yeah, if he really wants to improve the position, it's going to have to be impressive. He's sitting in that midfield. He was about 9th or 10th on that first run, so maybe this white and green machine can get a bit more speed. He's going all the way out to the wall in the back straightaway, trying to hold as much speed as possible now into 3. And we'll see how tight he's going to be able to keep it coming 3 into 4. No, wide line, taking a much wider line.
With Holloway qualified on the inside of row number 6 in his Thrustmaster Vision MX Graphics The Sim Racing Coach Chevrolet. But here in the Dallara DW12, what's lap number 2 going to be? 45.971. That means average of a 46.004. Basically puts himself right back into line in P number 11. If I'm remembering correctly as well, Jonathan, he's just gone 3/1000 slower than that first run. So Holloway doesn't move himself around the order, but compromises his chances potentially of starting nearer to the edge of that top 10.
Yeah, 3/1000s, and it could make a difference because he's only 4,000s ahead of Rock Powers. And if he had 3/1000s in the other direction, he would have been ahead of Brendan Lynchburg in the top 10. So just that key few thousands as he locks it up. And that cone. Wow, disrespectful to that. Oh, man, he's got a passenger. Took the cone with him.
My, oh my.
Man, that's just rude to the cone. That's cone cruelty. I'm calling PETA.
He's still dragging that cone down the pit lane as well. Finally going to get that one stopped. Then as we now...
It is pit box. Is going to come out of the car and take it for a beating as well?
Shocking. Hodel, back out on track though. Eric Hodel, 46.027 was his first run, and the number 90 begins to wind up to start the second and final run. Lichtenberg, by the way, has withdrawn from the line, so Lichtenberg going to stick on the edge of the top 10 as things stand. Hodel then across the line to start his qualifying run. After him is going to be the number 9 car, I think, if I'm reading that correctly. Who is that? That will be Brandon Traino. So the 2-time Indy 500 winner, back-to-back champion, going to be next up. He'll be trying to improve on his 6th place run. After that, Team Talent's Andreas Eek in the number 76. Going to head out onto the track for his first qualifying run. Potential for maybe 1 or 2 more runs after that. Then you got the double 8. That's going to be Jason Brophy, who takes to the track. And then after him, the 144, Christopher Demerit, 3rd place as things run. Looking to move his way up into row number 1. But Hodel then across the line, 46.005 was that first lap. Very, very impressive on lap number 1 then.
Yeah, especially since he's a little bit lower down in the order than he wanted to be, I think, for the number 90 car. And it's going to be interesting, too, seeing some of those guys that are towards the top taking extra laps, because they saw Chad Simpson go from about 7th to the top of the board. So we're going to see a lot of movers and shakers in these last few minutes.
Well, Simpson went faster, Holloway went slower. So risk on the line as Hodel dives into turn number 4. What's it going to be then for the number 90? Across the line and across the yard of bricks he goes. 45.930. That is a very good lap number 2, and that is going to be a marked improvement then for Hodel. There you can see the average, 45.968. That's going to bump him up into 7th place in front of the driver who's just about to head out onto track, Brandon Traino. So Eric Hodel up into the top 6. Oh, sorry, rather into the top 7, Jonathan.
Well, that was a huge improvement because he was down. He was just outside, I think. He was in 17th, I think, when he set that lap. So that was a huge improvement. And I think some of those guys that are like towards the middle of the field that didn't request second runs are looking at this and going, wait a minute. Why didn't we think of that? Now Traino's going to head out. Traino was a guy that was hugging that inside line at first. He saw Simpson take the pull on his second run. Is this 9 machine for the I5G group going to be able to take pole position or even improve the lap time? Again, it's a risk. He gets his lap time deleted. So if he does worse here, again, Arjuna, it's down the order he goes.
To take a look then as Traino dives it into turn number 3. Traino used to this type of pressure. Here we go then. Brandon Traino, back-to-back iRacing Indy 500 champion. Unfortunately, had his real-life duties as a NASCAR tire changer unfortunately conflicting with last weekend's qualifications for this weekend's open wheel 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions, but Treno going to lead the field on those pace laps as we have our 3 wide traditional Indy 500 start. He will be driving the Corvette C8R. And into turn number 4 then for Treno as he tries to move himself up into the top 3, join his teammate Christopher Demerit at the pointy end of things. On board with the number 9 then as we finish lap number 1. What's the time going to be? 45.926. Brandon Treno has just slammed the door wide open in terms of that pole position. That is the fastest first lap that we have seen, Jonathan, by a wide margin.
He has to have a good second lap, though. We've seen a few slower second laps. If he does the second lap, I think he has it. But then he has to be worried about some of the other guys that are going. You mentioned it already. Demerit and other drivers are already queued up. This is going to have to be a home run lap right here.
I wonder how much fuel burning Treno has been doing in the pit lane since we last saw him. We saw him crawling around the track on his previous in-lap, but we ride on board then with Treno across the yard of bricks. What's this lap time going to be? 45.833. What has Treno just done? What he's done is slam the field half a tenth of a second in it. Treno goes to the top.
Well, he's unfortunately not helping climate change. However, he did help himself by a fantastic second lap. 45.833. Track record and the fastest by far. Oh, and now if you're the rest of the field, like now you're going to be looking at Treno and going like, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I burn that ridiculous amount of fuel early on like I could have? Because some drivers we saw like just rush back to pit lane immediately.
What a run from the 2-time Indy 500 champion. Down onto pit lane in the number 9 car and hands over the track to the one and only Andreas Eek. Not running in his traditional white and red Team Talent car. That is a... I'm sorry, Andreas. There's no way to say this other than a monstrosity of a paint scheme. You've somehow managed to find the one color combination that looks bad on this DW12.
This looks like we're back in like a retro 70s movie and Earth is being invaded by aliens. This is the mothership. Or this is like a starship aliens right now invading.
Well, here we go then. Eek going to start his run. So we get the fantastic spider cam working its way down the front straight. Eek going in the opposite direction as he starts his run. In towards turn number 1. Speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour for the Scandinavian. Still in shock, by the way, at the run that Treno just put in.
I thought you were going to say the paint scheme.
That too. I mean, I'm still staring at my screen in utter disbelief, but I mean,
it looks like an alien spaceship. Like lasers are going to be shot out of those wings. You know what would make it worse? The wheels will also lime green.
Oh God, no. There is one rule when it comes to wheel colors. They can either be black or they can be white. That's basically... No, sorry. Black or silver. White is a very, very odd occurrence, but nevertheless, let's try and ignore the colors of Eek's car and instead focus on the lap time. 45.967 that first lap. Pretty good in terms of lap number 1 pace. Not doing the type of fuel burning that Brandon Treno clearly has been doing, but Eek works down the back straightaway in towards the northern end of the racetrack and will be hoping to break into the 45.8 on lap number 2.
He may have a shot here. It's a long shot, but if he gets like a 45.8, maybe even a 45.7, he could be alongside Treno on the start. It's going to be close. He looks really, really smooth. He's ducking immediately down to the inside and is going to come across the line. Didn't have a first run. This is actually his first run in the 76.
His one and only run. What's lap number 2 going to be? 45.880. Pretty good lap number 2 then from the Scandinavian. The average of 45.924. Ooh. Okay, I was reading that wrong for a second. He does move himself up into second. It's almost like Jonathan is a mind reader then. Can predict the future.
I feel like I've done that a couple of times. I've done that a couple of times. I'm thinking with this I should go to Vegas, but then I remember I have terrible luck outside of iRacing, so I should not.
I don't know. Vegas sounds like a pretty good time right now if you've got that type of luck. Eek works his way.
If I could call things like I did, I just said like Eek could possibly be on the front row alongside Brendan Trano, and he gets along the front row. Like, you know what? Maybe I should. Maybe I should.
Maybe you should.
Another last runner, the Merit, going out on track. A driver we did interview, and he was one that impressed us with a really good time early, and maybe he's done enough fuel burning like Brendan Trano to set a ridiculous lap time.
Well, he was out front for a little bit. Now withdraws his time, heads back out onto track. As Demerit winds the car up, starts his qualifying run then. Across the yard of bricks. And for those wondering, maybe you're new to the Brickyard, why are those grids, starting grid markers facing the wrong way? That's just because F1 goes the wrong way here. We're going the right way around it. Currently, with the oval configuration. The motorcycles know how to use this track as well, don't they, Jonathan?
Motorcycles and the NASCARs have been going the wrong way. There was an incredible Xfinity race here. I was actually a little worried when they were talking about adding this as a road course for Xfinity, and then watching it, it was actually a really, really interesting and fun race. And the sports cars also go the wrong way too. The Indy road course has been a gem, I think, this year, with all the good, exciting racing it is. But the oval has just been as good. Unfortunately, got robbed of a quality finish in the real-life Indy 500 as Demerit comes across the line. Didn't really improve much, 45.9. So he's going to need a big second lap here to try and take Trano off that front row. Oh, actually, no, that was both of his laps.
No.
Really...
That was lap number one.
Nope, graphics are wrong.
Just wait for the graphics sometimes to wake up and realize that they're wrong. Not the best lap number one, though. He's going to need an impressive lap two. Very similar to what Eek did the last time around. Demerit works his way then into turn number 4 to complete his second and final qualifying lap in the second and final run.
Maybe get Simpson. He can maybe get Shin. I don't know if he can get Eek or Trano.
So we jump on board across the line. It's going to be a 45.850. That puts him in the second fastest one-lap pace. And in terms of the average, second place, right behind his teammate Brandon Trano, 45.895. Good run then for Demerit there, Jonathan.
Yeah, unable to get Trano though. That second lap he put up and the fuel burning he did was pretty impressive. And speaking of Trano, he's in our comms room. I'm not sure if his mic is ready to go. Brandon, are you there?
I'm here, guys. What's going on?
So we're now joined by the two-time back-to-back iRacing Indy 500 champion Brandon Trano. And Brandon, disappointed in some ways to not have you in this Sunday's Open Wheels 500-mile race field. You did have some unfortunate conflicts last weekend that precluded you from being as a part of the qualifying weekend, but you're still going to be a part of the race, and good to have you as the pace car driver. Just talk to us a little bit about that for a second. Tanner came to you with that opportunity, and it must have been good to still be involved in this year's 500-mile race.
Yeah, Tanner came to me with that opportunity. Honestly, like midnight last night. I've been talking to him for the past 2 weeks, just trying to get into this race somehow. I was in Phoenix last week with NASCAR, so I couldn't qualify, but I was planning on being on top of the block for the guys at I5G this weekend, and Tanner came to me with the opportunity to be the pace car driver, and I was like, of course you got to take that. So I can at least lead a couple laps this year, which will be good.
And you'll be obviously leading the field with your teammate behind you. Are you still going to obviously be part of the race day effort behind the scenes? You know, lots of work goes into strategy and spotting. Is that something that once you jump out of the pace car, you'll jump up into the spotter's booth and try and give a hand on that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna run strategy for the guys this week and try to get us another 500 win.
And so now joined by Trano's teammate Christopher Demerit. Chris, let's ask you about that qualifying run. Pretty good in terms of the speed, but not enough to pip your teammate there. What more did you need to try and get the pole position for tomorrow's race?
I don't know what I did wrong. I was just slower than Trano. I'm usually like 200 slower than Trano here, no matter what. So I guess it doesn't even matter for way down on power and drag. It doesn't. I'm still 200s off, but It's the usual gap.
Did you see him burning ridiculous amounts of fuel? I think that may have been the key. He was.
No, I was later on fuel than he was.
Oh, really? You managed to kill our planet more? Wow, I didn't think that was possible on that one because
Hey,
I saw Brandon
hey.
going on the very inside, 50 kilometers an hour in turn 3, and I thought your teammate Lynchburg was actually going to beat him to the line before he got back down pit road.
Yeah, no, I was just doing it all in my pit stall. But hey, if Tanner didn't want us to, if he wanted this event to be more eco-friendly, he could have given us a setup with less fuel in it. But you know, gotta do what you gotta do.
And how close were you as we see Luis Nunez murder some more cones? There's apparently we're just murdering cones tonight. Where do you think you could have improved on that lap to maybe pip your teammate in Brandon Trano? You're just a few hundredths off.
I know a few hundred seems like it's pretty close, but I honestly have no idea. That's the usual gap between me and Trano. There's nothing really obvious that happened that was wrong. It's just kind of always been the gap between us two, especially in qualifying.
I got a question for both of you, and I want to ask Trano to answer this first. What's it like qualifying this car with this setup, all the weight, compared to what it's like qualifying the Dallara IR18 with all that extra qualifying boost? Lap number 4 in those 4-lap runs is, you know, dancing on the edge of grip. Really just trying to stop the wear of the tire through laps 1 and 3, or 1 through 3 rather. This type of a qualifying looks much more like just carrying the momentum and not scrubbing it off. I compared it to a super speedway type of a package. That's really what this kind of seems like right now.
Yeah, so my first run, I kind of messed up, but I was just putting a feeler out there to see how much you could pinch the entry and exit off. And then we saw, you know, Chad and Brophy put down some good times running close up to the wall like a traditional qualifying run. So once we burned off the fuel, we started running that way. It is similar, I would say, in terms of just wheel input. You know, the less wheel input you can put in, the less speed you're going to scrub off, and I think that's where a lot of us excel. You just don't fight the wheel through the corner, and the smoother you can be, that's where you're going to find those couple thousandths that equal hundredths.
And Chris, what's that going to mean then in the race tomorrow? We talked a bit about it before, but crazy drafting, but what's that going to mean in terms of the runs that you guys are getting as well? Are you going to stall out a little bit when you maybe try and pull it out 4 wide and try and leapfrog 3 cars in one? What's that going to be like maybe as you come to the line out of turn number 4?
Yeah, there will definitely be stalling out for sure. I mean, the bigger question is how much of a run can you really build up if everyone's on top of each other? You know, if we're all together in a pack, people are going to close gaps that are there, so you can't really lag back a few car lengths and get a huge run and go around easily. You know, it's probably not going to happen unless a bunch of cars get taken out or something. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have no strategy for tomorrow. I'm just gonna try and be at the front with Trano.
I'm sure trying to avoid getting caught up in an incident with no caution flags being present in tomorrow's race. Thank you for joining us, guys. 2 of the Team i5G teammates with the Apex Racing team. And Demerit, specifically for you, good luck on Sunday if we don't get to talk to you tomorrow in the festivities in the day before the 500.
Thanks.
So Christopher Mitrison completes his second and final qualifying run. 6 minutes left on the clock. And Jonathan, that means just one more attempt that we're going to see. And it's Simon Bryant who sacrifices his 45.955 and starts his second and final run. And indeed the final run in this year's Veterans 100 qualifying.
Now, those 2 teammates are going to be watching this with a little bit of anxiousness because they saw Chad Simpson, who was about 7th or 8th, jump all the way up to pole. Maybe this 22 machine has something. While we were doing those interviews, by the way, it looks like Christopher Munson improved by 1 or 2 spots, and then Luis Gonzalez Nunez, I don't know why, but we keep having interviews when that pink number 16 is out in track, unfortunately. But he was able to jump up a couple positions into the top 10, so good run for Nunez.
Shaping up to be a very interesting field once Simon Bryant's time goes back on to our timing board, 23 cars will be lining up for tomorrow's Veterans 100 race. Just past 5 minutes ago then left in qualifying. No more runs can be attempted anymore. Simon Bryant, our final competitor, out on track. Lap number 1 for Bryant, 45.939. Not the greatest first lap effort, but we wait to see lap number 2 for the Sadie Sim Autosport driver, the only Sadie representative in this year's 500-mile race field. Simon Bryant's going to be rolling off from the inside of row number 9 in 25th place, driving the full city floating red line Chevrolet. But for the number 22 then, crosses the line for the final time to complete Veterans 100 qualifying. Lap time is a 45.848, a very, very impressive lap number 2. That's going to put him into second, splitting those I5G teammates. So no longer an I5G front row lockout.
In an I5G sandwich now, which is good and bad for 2 reasons. One, Treno and Demerit are going to be lining up 1-2 now on that bottom. So they're going to have an easy drafting partner early on. But bad because now Simon Bryant is going to be a little bit of a problem in their plans to try and do domination.
So Bryant works it down onto the pit lane then. And he's going to reset the car, do some donuts to celebrate his front row start in tomorrow's race.
Yeah, number 22 is P2.
Nice little run of twos. What's that called when you have a... It's not alliteration. That's when you have it for letters. I want to know now what that's called with numbers. I'm sure there's a word for it. There must be.
There has to be, because we had... Didn't we have like Tuesday or something earlier this year? It was like 2, 2, 2. As I think you see Brendan Treno as well doing donuts on the front straightaway. There's someone out there doing donuts.
You're right, that is Treno, who's already managed to lose the front end of his car, celebrating the end of Veterans 100 qualifying. Where's Christopher Demerit trying to go as well? Demerit trying to do some donuts potentially on the pit lane access road. So
Treno's trying to murder as many cones as possible, but thankfully those cones, you know, aren't there visibly, so cannot be murdered. We've already had a lot of injuries to cones today.
Treno heading back out there to murder some more cones, it would appear. All of the I5G teammates trying to have a little bit of fun, celebrating an impressive run in terms of qualifying performances. 2 minutes to go on the session clock then. We'll just run down the time before we run you through the field for tomorrow's big race. Let's take a look at the entire schedule of events, because it's been a fun week and a half of action on RaceSpotTV as we see these cars out on track, getting a little bit of practice in potentially. You can take a look at the package that we might see tomorrow. But there you can see then the full schedule of events. Open Wheels Veterans 100 qualifying today on November 13th will be live tomorrow for the big race itself. The day before the 500 broadcast kicks off on RaceSpotTV at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. We'll be starting with the Veterans 100 before we dive right into the pit stop competition. That will kick off at 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 p.m. Pacific. The big race itself, of course, November 15th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Join Will Vincent, myself, and Aaron Likens for that one, as we are getting a little bit of a preview here of some of the racing action. This is pretty good right now, Jonathan, and this is just 3 cars in a queue. I can't wait till we have 23 of these cars all fighting it out on track.
You know how close those two were running. I mean, I get it's just practice and there's just a bit of shenanigans right now, but they're really, really close. And now, yep, 3 wide. Here we go. Oh, a little moving up towards the wall. The 10's trying to find a way to go. The 9 all the way to the outside.
Don't
crash.
I
think the key is going to be managing. Well, the O2s, they're going to be a little slower as well. Oh, up, 3 wide.
This is just,
I would not be a good spotter for this.
This is just a little bit of a preview of all the action that you're going to get to see. What a view the fans would have if the virtual fans were out on the track, working their way down into turn number 4. 2 wide, almost too deep as Hollowboat picks up the speed in his 0-2 machine. I tell you what, let's get a fantastic shot of these guys from our spider cam as they dive their way down across the start-finish line. What a shot. What a race we're going to see. Barney the flagman flies. The checkered flag signaling the end of on-track action, but just a preview there, Jonathan, of what we're going to get to see tomorrow in the Veterans 100 race.
Just that, those 2 or 3 laps we got, you saw like Trainer was able to hang on that outside. I'm wondering if we're going to have like 2 or 3 different grooves going through these corners. It's going to be really intense, and the 144 of Lynchburg keeps moving up the racetrack, and I don't think Trainer appreciates. Oh, a little NASCAR-style bump draft right there.
Hey,
from Harbo into Trainer as they go into the 3.
We may see the bump draft be a serious thing in those last few laps of the race. We'll have to wait and see, but getting a little bit more of action as Holloway's going to look all the way to the inside. Oh, 3 wide across the stripe they're going to go. Oh, hopefully this is what we get to see tomorrow on the race broadcast, but my oh my, Jonathan, I can't wait. Holloway pushes up just a little bit. I don't think Trano appreciates that too much. Now Holloway tries to do an over-under. Demerit holding the white line, and again, 3 cars in this queue. Can't wait to see 23 cars out on track.
Imagine getting the draft being the last car in line. Like, you're going to have like such a huge run. And look at this, 3 wide again. The 0-2, he's just in a sandwich. There's nowhere for him to go. He's just the meat in an I-5G sandwich.
I'm not sure that sounds like a very pleasant place as Holloway touches Demerit. Front left to rear right contact. Holloway tucks back into line. Jinx back to the outside. Oh my god, this is going to be fantastic stuff tomorrow. I can't even take my eyes off this right now, Jonathan. Checker flag is up in the air, and these guys continue to pound around the track, getting in a little bit of action, previewing what we can see tomorrow. 3 wide through turn
the only
number
4
1.
still here.
This is incredible stuff right now.
Everyone else has left the session. Meanwhile, these 4 said, you know what, we're just going to go out and have some fun. All the way down below the white line goes Harbo. Might as well just be in the grass at that point.
And we'll keep watching for a little bit, by the way. We don't mind taking a look and just trying to preview what we'll see tomorrow. Just a note from Race Control and Tanner Watkins. Brandon Trano, your 2020 Veterans 100 pole sitter. New track record, though, Jonathan. 196.170 miles an hour. So, you know, despite that little bit of a weight penalty and power penalty, still some very, very impressive speeds overall from these drivers.
Well, a lot of these drivers, again, are running in the big event, the Open Wheels 500 on Sunday, so they have experience around the track. As you see Trano go out way wide, I think he might be slowing down or maybe just avoiding contact. I don't know, but those 2 first minutes are interesting because now I want to see, like, how is that high line going to work? Is 3 wide going to be working down the front straight? How much room are people going to give? Harbo, I'm surprised they didn't collide into turn 1.
Absolutely. So, I tell you what, let's say hi to you for just a second as well. And after 2 hours of qualifying,
hello there.
Yeah, hello. 2 hours of qualifying.
I forgot I have a camera.
It's just flown by there, Jonathan. I mean, once again, qualifying as you see them still. I'm watching up on my screen right now. They're still fighting it out as they work their way through turns 1 and 2. Tomorrow is going to be great, and it's all just leading up to the big race on Sunday as well. The Open Wheels 500-mile race presented by Mitchell Transmissions, back for a second year and back bigger than ever before. Strongest 500-mile race field I can remember seeing in a long time, and this one should be good.
It's a strong field. We saw in qualifying how close those gaps were and how close some of these big teams are, but we even have some small teams, independent drivers, one-car teams, of big teams that couldn't get to make it in the show, and I think the Veterans 100 is going to be a good treat to see how the draft's going to work, how the track's going to work, how everything's going to work, and then the pit stop competition as well. It's going to be really fun and interesting, just a fun, solid day tomorrow.
I tell you what, let's quickly run you through our starting order for tomorrow's big race then. The Veterans 100, 40 laps at the Brickyard. We'll have 1 mandatory competition caution midway through the race. No other cautions will be flown. So, Brandon Trano, the 2-time Indy 500 winner on the iRacing service, qualifies with a new track record of 45.879. On the outside of row number 1, Simon Bryant, Mercedes Sim Autosport, with a 45.893, pips himself in between the 2 i5G teammates. Christopher Demerit will line up in 3rd then with a 45.895, and Andreas Eek for Team Talent in 4th position. Satellite Racing's Chad Simpson start on the inside of row number 3 with the king of chins, Joshua Chin, himself on the outside. Eric Hodel will start in the 7th position with Jason Brophy next to him. Luis Gonzalez Nunez rounds out the top 10 with Fabio Viana on row number 5. Row number 6, AJ Burton. Going to start on the inside with Andrew Marquez next to him, Brendan Lichtenberg, and Matt Holliber on row number 7. Christopher Mitcherson on row number 8 alongside Rob Powers, with the Open Wheels 500-mile race rookie Jesper Orman and Aaron Roof in 17th and 18th place. Evan Adams will be in 19th with Nate Burke in 20th. Jameel Hawkins in 21st. Tyson Landis and Craig Hawkins, your final 2 cars in the 23-car field. Let's take a look then once again at the schedule, because an expanded slate of coverage on RaceSpotTV is coming to a close. November 15th will be our big finale, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 Pacific for the 500-mile race. But tomorrow, don't forget to join us for the Open Wheels day before the 500. Veterans 100 coverage kicks off at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, with the pit stop competition then at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. So don't forget as well, you can follow us for more sim racing action across YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch at RaceSpotTV. And if you're not subscribed and hit the bell already on YouTube, do that to keep up to date with all of our sim racing broadcasts as we move more of them over to the RaceSpotTV channels. So an exciting weekend ahead then, as we look ahead to the day before the 500 and the big race itself. We've just wrapped up the 2020 Open Wheels Veterans 100 qualifying coverage with 40 laps of racing ahead tomorrow. For myself, Arjuna Kankipati, I've been joined by Jonathan Burke for this one. Track cameras provided to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com. We'll see you tomorrow then for the day before the 500. Enjoy your Friday night and tune in for the entire weekend of coverage.